honestly think that sometimes people within the hobby, from the comments I see, the remarks that are made on pictures, and some of the pictures and videos that are posted around social media, I honestly think that sometimes people are just not having fun, and then I have to question, what are they even doing here? What's up, wrestling fans? I'm Zhan, and welcome to Wrestling with Cards. Excitement, fun, winning, being right about something. As humans, these are all characteristics that we strive for, that we strive to be. These are also things that within the hobby we are also striving to achieve. We all want to have the best of the best, we all want to have the rarest of the rarest, no matter what kind of collectibles you're into. When you buy something, you're investing in something, it's exciting. The thrill of the chase, finding that super rare card you've been looking for, or that rare item. Winning that auction at the very last second by just a penny. And then waiting, and waiting, and waiting, what seems like forever, to get that in the mail so you can post it on Instagram, social media, and share your prize with the world. Or what about finding that grail that you've been looking for? You haven't seen it for years, all of a sudden it pops up. What about finding that ultimate deal out in the wild, which seems to not happen as much anymore? And then it's on to the next item. Rinse and repeat. This just becomes a constant cycle of fun. And then let's say you pick the right player, the right franchise, the right collectible. All of a sudden that starts drying up, starts going up in value. All of a sudden your investment is going up. And whether you're selling or not, you're happy, you're excited. You've got that sensation of winning. You get the sensation of being right, holding value. And for many in the hobby, I honestly think like being right and proving people that you know everything is kind of what a lot of people do for fun, more so even than just collecting the cards or the collectibles. For many, it's a fun game and a fun competition, be it friendly or otherwise. Be the best, you gotta prove you're right. Now on the surface, all of these things I've talked about tie in together to make the hobby what it is and why we all enjoy it. But I honestly think that sometimes people within the hobby, from the comments I see, the remarks that are made on pictures, and some of the pictures and videos that are posted around social media, I honestly think that sometimes people are just not having fun, and then I have to question, what are they even doing here? Instead of changing directions on the way they collect, or maybe changing their mindset on things, whether that's flipping or NFTs or, collecting a specific set that they're looking for that's dried up, they can't find it anymore, I'm going to complain. Instead of doing stuff, to change those things, they just like to complain about it. But after all, if we're not having fun, what's the point of collectibles? And I'm not one to generally complain about things, so against my better judgment, I've kind of shaken up my approach to collecting. As the title of this video has suggested, I've taken a step into the waters of prospecting in modern wrestling cards. Oof. Now I did this for a few reasons which we'll get into in this video. Also, make sure to stick around for the entire video. You won't want to miss the wrestler that I've chosen to start prospecting on, and I'll reveal some of the cards that I've chosen from this superstar later in the video. Just showing you that I put my money where my mouth is on what I say on these videos. But before we get into all that, here's a few ways you can help support the show. Make sure to check out my podcast, Wrestling with Cards, same name as this show, an audio companion to these videos. Sometimes I talk about things that I don't talk about on here, and sometimes I just go over some of the videos, maybe give a different perspective, maybe I've changed my mind, maybe I've even thought the stuff that I've talked about previously is going further to the moon, I don't know. You just have to tune in, and while you're tuning into other wrestling podcasts, make sure to check out Worlds Collide, myself, Tony Vella, two wrestling trading card YouTube personalities coming together to just talk about wrestling cards, different perspectives, and make sure you share and subscribe to the podcast. That's the best way to help spread the word and get new listeners. They don't push out a lot of content like YouTube does. YouTube does a pretty good job pushing out your videos to people who like wrestling or cards or whatever. Not so much with the podcast. And if you really want to help support the show, you can do that monetarily by checking the links down below to everything I mentioned, but also Patreon is there, and you can also buy me a coffee because I got to stay caffeinated doing these videos. Again, links to everything I've mentioned and more down below in the notes. But let's get into why I really decided to start investing and prospecting, I should say, in modern wrestling cards. I stated at the top of this video, most people in life and also in the hobby are looking for three things: excitement, fun, and the fact of winning or being right. These are three things that I will answer and break down and apply them to why I decided to start prospecting in wrestling cards, specifically modern wrestling cards. Let's start with excitement. Who doesn't like new stuff? Don't get me wrong, everything that you've seen on my mail days, which you should go check out those videos, I love it. I love continuing to buy that stuff, whether it's vintage, whether it's semi-vintage, like, mid-2000s stuff from Topps, whether it's Sports Illustrated. Like, I love everything I'm buying, and I still stand behind all of it. But as I'm buying these things, there are a few roadblocks and detours that I've kind of run into. What are those roadblocks? Let's start with PSA submissions. I had a really nice system going, sending in a small batch of value subs each month. I did that to keep a steady stream going, so I'm constantly having cards going out, constantly having cards coming in. Some of those are PC cards, some of those are cards just to flip. And the goal is, when I would resell these, I would just reinvest them back into my portfolio, if you want to call it. I know a lot of people hate that. Just all of my cards, whether it's my PC stuff or more stuff to flip. And with PSA currently shut down for the time being, unless you want to do Super Express or walk through or walk in, whatever that highest tier one is, you can't send these in. You have the option to send to some other companies, but here I am, just sitting on piles of cards that I had planned to already had been moving out by this time. I've also ran into the roadblock of pricing or availability. Wrestling cards, well, I know they're not basketball, football, baseball, and we'll throw soccer in there. We'll even throw Pokemon in there. I know they're not that, but they have had a huge increase in popularity and prices over the past 12 to 14 months. I rarely pay market value for anything, just putting that out there. I'm always looking for a deal. But times have changed, and while every now and then I will find a deal here and there, whether it's eBay or another selling platform, or even out in the wild, the days of finding key iconic cards, not necessarily rookie cards, but just any kind of major cards of major stars, Hogan, The Rock, Austin, the days of finding really good cards for $1 a piece, those days are long gone. But this is actually good news in my opinion, because I think it just shows the popularity of wrestling and wrestling cards. And hopefully that popularity just keeps building and building and building, and then maybe one day wrestling cards can be the soccer, the Pokemon. But again, none of this stuff technically stopped me from collecting or investing or having fun, because I just decided to change paths. Just broadening my horizons, trying new things, trying to collect different things, different ways. But at the same time, not straying too far from the path. I don't know a lot about soccer, so I'm not getting into soccer. You've seen some of my mail day videos. I pick up some sealed wax. I still think that's great. But I don't know as much about the sport, so I'm not buying the singles. I do know wrestling, so if I stay in the wrestling lane but just kind of change to something else instead of the stuff I've been buying, it's new, it's fun, it's exciting. I think it's also a kind of financially responsible way to do things, because you know what you're doing, and I'm only paying low-end prices. I think the most I spent on some of these cards we're going to talk about later is like $30, so, not a lot invested into some of these. Let's talk about fun, because again, that's what the hobby is all about. When I first started down this rabbit hole of, hey, I'm going to prospect on modern wrestling cards, I didn't have any idea how much fun I was going to have. I'm always keeping up with the modern wrestling product and most of the modern, bigger companies, some of the indies. I couldn't tell you the last time that I actually sat down and watched a full show. Possibly one of the WrestleManias, but I can't sit through Raw. In fact, I like to watch the highlights of Raw, which condense 3 hours to 35 minutes. And even 35 minutes sometimes is hard to sit through. But now that I've made a play, flag in the ground, put my money where my mouth is on a wrestler, I now have a reason to care, a reason to watch, a reason to keep me engaged every week to see what's going to happen to the wrestler or wrestlers that I've chosen to prospect in. I now have stake in the game. I have a reason to watch. I have a rooting interest. Instead of just watching these guys wrestle, now it's like sports, where I have a team or a player that I'm cheering for. And yes, I know it's predetermined, but it's the same concept. And while I love vintage wrestling and I love all the legends more than any other type of cards, you can't get me off the Hogan, Steve Austin, Flair, Undertaker, you name those guys. You can't get me off of that pedestal. That being said, they're not really active anymore. Sure, you can see them on some of the documentaries and some of the WWE Network specials, and of course you can go back onto Peacock and watch the WWE Network there and watch all the classic matches. That stuff never gets old. But seeing them in-ring, in action, on a week-to-week basis, you just can't. Again, back to the vintage and stars. I love that stuff, as I've said, and I really love chasing down rare cards. You guys know, rare, scarce, numbered, parallel, autograph, whatever. I love all that stuff. But to be honest, as I'm going through my eBay search list, as I'm just looking every day for what's a good deal, what's popped up, what have I not seen before, a lot of this, honestly, is starting to get very monotonous to me. In most cases, I'm not finding what I'm looking for, or I'm not finding stuff that I'm willing to pay the price for. I will also throw this into social media. I see a lot of the same cards, people in their Instagram feeds and Twitter, over and over again, the same stuff over and over. That's one thing that kind of turned me off of modern sports. Everybody's kind of collecting the same stuff. So I was like, you know what? Let's do a U-turn. Prospecting in a modern wrestling star or stars is just a fresh way to go about it. This could turn into a new player PC. You guys know I like player collecting, wrestler collecting, whatever. This could turn into a big money-making opportunity. What if a few years down the road some of these cards turn into some big money? What if this completely flops and I'm stuck with these cards that I paid for and they never go up in value? All those things are possible, but all that matters is it's going to be a fun ride along the way. And speaking of the uncertainty of prospecting, as far as like if I get stuck with these cards, they flop, or maybe they go to the moon, the last point I want to make before we get into looking at these cards is being right on something, or winning. As long as I can remember, prospecting and rookie cards, the new guys, the new autograph cards, whatever, that's the stuff that seems to drive the sports card world. People are always looking for the next big thing. What's going to turn into the 86 Fleer Jordan? What's going to turn into the Undertaker rookie or the Steve Austin rookie, if we can even determine that at this point? Most people in the sports card world are doing this for monetary gains, or maybe they don't care so much about the money, and like I said earlier in this video, they just want to be right and they want to prove it to people. For me, getting into prospecting on newer wrestling cards, newer stars, it's both of those things to me, but probably not in the way that you're thinking. I hope the wrestler or wrestlers that I've chosen get really popular, skyrocket in value and popularity, winning titles along the way, headlining WrestleMania. And with all of these things, hopefully leading to some money on the back end of the purchases of these cards a couple years down the road. That's if, in fact, I decide to sell them. And notice I said some money, not get rich quick. I'm keeping my expectations very low here with mitigating risk with the price that I'm paying and the amount that I'm getting into these cards at. But the question then becomes, do I sell these? I mentioned I may just hold on to these. Does this become a new player PC for me? Highly possible. Like I said, I could get stuck with these. They could be worth $1 million. I have no idea what's going to happen. This is all an experiment. A lot of you out there watching this isn't anything new to you. You guys have been probably prospecting on modern wrestling cards for years now. But it's new to me. It's worked for me in the past with a lot of sports cards, even though I'm not doing as much sports cards anymore. It'll be interesting to see if I can kind of prove to myself that I could do this in the wrestling card space, which I know a lot more about. But I'm really trying to prove this to myself, not to you. I'm not trying to tell you, hey guys, this is what you should be buying. Or, hey, I'm right, you're wrong. The thing with me is I'm proving to myself, hey, either I can do this, possibly, or I'm going to lose and learn from it and then decide, hey, do I want to pick a different prospect? Maybe I had the right process of thinking and just picked the wrong person. Or maybe I'm just really bad at this and need to stick with vintage. We'll see. I'm always trying to learn, trying to work harder, and do better and get better. I hope that you guys are all doing the same things. I know there are people out there that are way higher than me in value and collections and blah, blah, blah. Frankly, don't care. I'm just trying to get better every single day with my collection and in life. So now that I've laid the groundwork for the reason that I started prospecting, let's look at who I've decided to start prospecting in. Check it out. That's right, Killer Kross, the current NXT champion. I've been a huge fan of this guy back when he was Killer. Of course, WWE would change that name. They can't have a killer on their roster. God forbid they put some intensity into wrestling. Another story for another time. But I've loved this guy when he was in the Indies and AAA and all the prior experience he had to this before. But I feel like he's really stepped up his game since entering NXT. In my opinion, he's got everything going for him that you would want in a major superstar on the main roster. He has the look and the physical capability to be either a huge babyface, like a Steve Austin type. I'm not saying he's going to get to those levels. I'm just saying that kind of anti-hero. But also he has the intensity and the gimmick to be a major heel. He can really talk, even though we don't see it as much in NXT. And the reason we don't see a lot of that is because we see a lot of Scarlett. And I know there's a bunch of you guys out there that are huge fans of her. She can do some of the talking for him. A lot of you would even say that she is the major star of the package. But for me, the biggest reason that I decided to start buying Karrion Kross cards, sure, I like his in-ring action, good gimmick, etc., but he is believable to me. He's an absolutely believable character. I don't personally want to mess with this guy, kayfabe or real life. And, that's just something that's missing in wrestling. You know, we've got a lot of wrestlers out there that just want to get on their social media and play video games or, you know, do YouTube channels, and that's cool. But I don't see Killer Kross out here doing tons of that stuff. Notice I said killer because he's still a killer. And that's the thing. I don't want to mess with this guy. He kind of scares me. Now we have the who and the why. Let's look at the what. And by what, I mean the wrestling cards that I've chosen to buy for Karrion Kross. And there's some Scarlet sprinkled in. So let's look at the Killer Kross cards that I've picked to start prospecting in. We're kicking things off with the Panini AAA releases. Now, I love these cards. I think they look really awesome. I think the Panini brand that you can see right there, I think it carries a lot of weight now with the sports card world, and I think that's going to translate into wrestling. We've already seen it with the Rock sticker from '97. But about these, the reason I went with these is I think these kind of are going to be in the same line of the 82-83 All-Stars for Hogan or, you know, the Chromie Steve Austin. It's a card that is pack pulled, but it doesn't say rookie card anywhere on there. That I can't read Spanish, so I don't know what it says on there actually. But I really think that these are going to be like the XRCs, but we've also seen different wrestling cards where those XRCs actually get more valuable than official rookie cards. So it's one of those things where, you know, if you, instead of trying to decide which rookie card is it, just buy them all. And now when I say buy them all, these cards specifically, I'm not stocking up on like quantities of these. I bought one of each, and we'll see how it goes. Now the next cards I do have some quantity of, we're going to start out with Undisputed. We've got the base rookie card, got the green parallel out of 50, and we've got the orange parallel out of 99. Really cool image. You guys heard on this, I talked about his intensity and just how scary he looks, and I think this image really says that. And the thing that I actually kind of like, that I'm not sure a lot of people do like about the cards I've chosen, is WWE and Topps seem to have one image of Karrion Kross that they continue to use. So as we're getting into these, you can see that this is the same image used. But I think it's a great image. And it just, again, shows his intensity. So we've got some finest base rookie cards. We've got some refractors. Love refractors. Just a classic in the hobby. Got an X-Fractor. Blue out of 150. Orange out of 50. I do have a black out of 25 coming in the mail, not here yet. Told you I sprinkled some Scarlet in here. Here's a base and a refractor. I've also been looking at a lot of her other cards. There's some really cool shots in there and a lot of parallels and numbered stuff. So if that stuff's out there and you guys are interested, you can go buy it as well. But I'm still looking for a few more of hers. I think at this time I've pretty much bought most of the Karrion Kross stuff I want. Still looking for an auto or a relic or something like that. But at the time of this video, there are none of those out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it kind of inspired you to just stop and think about how you're approaching the hobby. And just make sure to remember that ultimately it's all about having fun. Not just out here trying to impress people with social media posts. I just wanted to give you guys a backstory on the reason I decided to start prospecting in wrestling cards. Again, transparency, something that the hobby just needs more of. Whether I win or lose, I'm going to have some fun, and I hope you guys are having fun. Make sure to give me one of these. Hit the subscribe button if I brought you value in this video or any other videos. Speaking of other videos, make sure you check the video on the screen for more great wrestling card content. I'll see you there.